I used to believe that nothing in this world could shake the bond between me and my older sister, Zara. She was 3 years older, smarter, sharper, and always a step ahead of everyone, especially me. Growing up, she wasn't just my sister, she was my shelter, the person I ran to when our parents fought, when I scraped my knee, when the world felt too loud. If someone had told me back then that one day Zara would become a stranger, cold, unrecognizable, and frighteningly distant, I would have laughed. But I remember the exact day everything changed, the day we lost her. It began like any ordinary Sunday. The sun was warm, the house smelled of cardamom tea, and Mom was humming in the kitchen. I was setting the table when Zara walked in, not stomping, not shouting, but gliding in with a silence that felt wrong. She didn't greet anyone, didn't glance at me, and didn't even step into the kitchen to steal a paratha like she usually did. She just sat at the table, eyes cold, lips pressed tight, as if every one of us had somehow betrayed her. "Zara," Mom called gently, "are you okay?" Zara didn't blink. "I'm fine." Her tone was flat, like talking to a stranger. At first, I thought she was upset about something small, a fight with a friend, stress from college, or maybe she hadn't slept well. But the longer she sat there, the more I felt her silence pushing us away, inch by inch. Dad arrived minutes later, holding the mail. He placed a white envelope in front of Zara. "This came for you." Her fingers trembled, not with excitement, but with something darker. Fear? Maybe both. She tore open the envelope and skimmed the paper inside. Her jaw clenched. "What is it?" I asked softly. She looked at me like a thief trying to steal her secrets. "None of your business." That stung. Zara never spoke to me that way, not even during our worst arguments. Dad sighed heavily. "We need to talk about it, Zara. They've been calling for days. You can't ignore them." Her eyes flared. "I can do whatever I want." Mom exchanged a worried look with Dad. I tried to understand what was happening. Who was calling? What were they talking about? What was in that letter? But Zara shoved her chair back and stormed to her room, slamming the door behind her. We ate breakfast in silence. Later that day, while I was passing by her room, I heard her talking on the phone, low, urgent whispers. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but one sentence shattered everything. "I'm not going back there. They can threaten all they want." My breath caught in my throat. Who was threatening my sister? Before I could step away, the door flung open and Zara stood there, eyes burning. "What are you doing outside my room?" she hissed. I wasn't listening." "Sure you weren't." She pushed past me so hard I stumbled. "Stay out of my business, all of you." That was the first time she said it. All of you. Like we weren't her family anymore. That night, I found Mom crying quietly in the living room, Dad pacing, Zara locked in her room. Something had entered our house, some secret, some pressure, some darkness, and it was pulling my sister away from us, thread by thread. But none of us knew how deep it went, or how badly it would break us. And I didn't know it then, but the letter Zara received, it wasn't just a warning, it was the beginning of her betrayal. Because the next morning, Zara made a choice, one that would turn her from my sister to a stranger I barely recognized. The next morning, the house felt unnaturally quiet, like the air itself was reluctant to move. I didn't know why, but I woke up with a tightness in my chest, the kind you feel before something bad happens. I walked downstairs expecting to see Zara standing in the kitchen, pretending everything was fine, pretending yesterday never happened. But she wasn't there. Instead, Dad was pacing the living room again, and Mom sat frozen on the sofa, clutching her phone as if it were holding her heart together. "What happened?" I asked, voice barely steady. Mom lifted her eyes to me, red, swollen, terrified. "She's gone." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean, gone? Where?" Dad ran a hand through his hair, the gesture of a man trying to hold himself upright. "She left before dawn, took her bag, and—" He swallowed hard. "She took the money." I blinked. "What money?" Mom's voice cracked. "All the savings from the blue box, every rupee. Your father kept it for emergencies." I didn't want to believe it. Zara wasn't perfect, but stealing? Running away? Leaving us like that? "No," I whispered. "Something must be wrong. Zara would never—" Dad cut me off. "She would. She did." His anger wasn't loud, it was cold, hollow, beaten, and somehow that hurt more. I sat down beside Mom. "Did she leave a note? A message? Anything?" Mom silently handed me her phone. A single text message. From Zara. "Don't look for me. I'm done pretending. You all are the reason my life became a mess. Stay away from me." I felt the words slice through me. The girl who used to braid my hair, steal extra mangoes for me, cover for me when I snuck out to meet friends. That girl wrote this? Dad whispered, "She thinks we ruined her life after everything?" But he didn't finish. He didn't need to. We all knew what he meant. The three of us spent hours trying to understand. What had triggered this? Was it the mysterious letter? The phone calls? Had someone manipulated her? Threatened her? Or worse, had Zara been living with secrets we were too blind to see? By afternoon, Dad called the college. Zara hadn't attended classes in weeks. Weeks! I felt a chill creep down my spine. Where had she been going every morning? Who had she been with? Mom tried calling her again and again, but Zara had blocked every one of us. By evening, panic began turning into fear, fear into anger, anger into heartbreak. But that night, while cleaning Zara's room, I found something she hadn't meant for us to see. A folded piece of paper under her pillow. The same letter Dad had handed her during breakfast yesterday. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. It wasn't a threat. It was a notice, a legal notice, a demand for repayment of a debt I didn't know my sister had, an amount so huge that it made my head spin. But the name on the bottom,
It wasn't hers. It was mine, issued in my name. I dropped the letter as if it burned my fingers. Why would Zara take debt in my name? Why drag me into whatever mess she'd gotten involved in? Unless she needed someone to blame, someone to sacrifice. My heart raced. Suddenly, everything made sense. The coldness, the distance, the anger. For weeks, she hadn't been pulling away from us. She had been preparing to leave us behind. And she had set me up to suffer the consequences. I grabbed the letter and rushed downstairs. Mom stared at it in shock. Dad's face turned pale. "She used your name?" he whispered. "She signed this?" I nodded. My voice barely escaped my throat. "She betrayed me." Dad sank into a chair. "She betrayed all of us." But none of us knew that this debt was only the beginning, not even close, because Zara wouldn't stay gone long. People who owe money never run too far. And when she returned, she wouldn't come back as family. She would come back as someone we should have feared. And 2 days later, we heard a knock on the door, one that announced the arrival of the man Zara was running from, and the truth she tried to bury with her disappearance.
2 days after Zara disappeared, the house felt heavier than it ever had. Every sound made us jump. Every knock, every footstep outside, every vibration of a phone made our stomachs twist. I kept replaying the letter in my head. My name, her signature, the debt. It felt like a stain on my chest that wouldn't wash out. On the third evening, just as the sun dipped and shadows stretched across our living room, someone banged on the door. Not knocked, banged, hard, angry, impatient. Mom froze. Dad stood up sharply. I felt my breath stop. Dad opened the door slowly. A tall man in a black shirt stood there. His expression wasn't threatening, but it wasn't friendly either. He looked tired, exhausted even, but his eyes were sharp enough to cut through steel. He held a leather file in one hand. "Good evening," he said flatly. "I'm looking for Zara." Dad stiffened. "She's not here." The man sighed, as if he expected that. "I know she's not, but she listed this address, and the debt tied to her activities is registered under the name of someone else in this house." My heart clenched. Dad didn't move. "Who are you?" The man opened his file and showed a badge, legitimate, government issued. "My name is Kabir Malik, Financial Crimes Investigation Unit." My mouth went dry. He wasn't a loan shark. He wasn't a scammer. He was an investigator. Kabir stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, not rudely, but like someone who knew hesitation would make things worse. He sat on the edge of the sofa, opened his file, and placed the same letter I found on Zara's pillow on the table. "Your daughter took a loan of nearly 800,000 rupees using your other daughter's identity." He nodded at me. "Yours." Mom gasped. Dad's jaw clenched so tightly I thought he might crack a tooth. "I didn't take anything," I blurted. "She forged my name. I didn't know." He raised a hand gently. "I know you didn't. That's not why I'm here." He flipped to another page, this time a photograph. Zara, standing beside a man I had never seen. Zara wasn't smiling. She looked cornered. "This man," he said, tapping the photo, "is not good news.
He convinced your sister to take the loan, encouraged her, manipulated her, and now he's disappeared as well. My heartbeat quickened. So Zara was tricked? Kabir hesitated. At first, maybe, but later, she wasn't tricked. She was involved. She helped him set up fake accounts, open fraudulent IDs. She wasn't just a victim. She became part of it. Dad inhaled sharply, a sound filled with pain more than anger. Kabir continued. She ran right before we issued a warrant. She abandoned everything and everyone. His eyes turned to me, including the name she stole. I felt something inside me crumble. Mom's voice cracked. Please, she's still our daughter. Can we help her? Can we make this right? Kabir closed the file gently. If she returns voluntarily, she can still face reduced charges. But if she keeps running, he shook his head. It gets worse for everyone. He stood up, ready to leave. But before he reached the door, he paused and looked at me. She might try to contact you, not out of love, out of desperation. If she does, call me immediately. I nodded, though my chest tightened with the thought. After Kabir left, silence consumed us, a heavy, suffocating silence. Dad whispered, "What has she done? What has she become?" Mom broke down, sobbing into her hands. And me? I felt torn between two versions of my sister, the one who held my hand when I was scared, and the one who used my name to save herself. But deep down, beneath the hurt, beneath the confusion, a single horrifying question formed. If she came back, would she even recognize us as family anymore? That question became terrifyingly real the next night when my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number containing Zara's voice.
The night after Officer Kabir left, sleep felt impossible. I kept hearing Zara's voice in my memories, laughing, teasing, comforting, and it hurt knowing she was now hiding, lying, running. Every creak in the house made me look at the door. Every car passing by made my heart jump. Around 2:14 a.m., when the world felt half asleep and half haunted, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart slammed against my ribs. I stared at the screen, unable to breathe. Another buzz. A single voice note. My fingers trembled as I pressed play. Zara's voice flooded my room, whispered, breathless, uneven. "Don't tell Mom and Dad I reached out. Don't tell anyone. I need your help. Please just hear me out." My throat tightened. She continued, "They're after me, not just the investigators. He's after me too, the man in the photo. He's not what you think, okay? I didn't want any of this." Her breath hitched, as if someone were nearby. I trusted the wrong person, and now they're blaming everything on me. I need to disappear for a while. Just help me one last time. The message ended. I stared at the phone, shaking. Part of me wanted to scream. The other part wanted to cry. Zara had always known how to pull at my heart. She had a gift for making her pain sound like my responsibility. But this time, knowing what she'd done to my name, it felt different. I hesitated for almost 10 minutes before sending a single reply. "Where are you?" The dots appeared instantly. Typing, then disappeared. Typing again. Stopped.
Finally, her message came through. I can't tell you, not yet, but I need money. Please, you're the only one I can trust. I closed my eyes. Money, of course. Not an apology, not an explanation, not even the truth. Just a demand, just like a stranger. I typed back slowly. Why did you use my name for the loan? Her reply came after a long pause. Because I knew they wouldn't trust me. I needed a clean identity, someone responsible, someone who wouldn't question anything. Responsible, someone who wouldn't question anything. She meant me. It felt like my heart cracked. I asked again, did you ever plan to tell me? This time, the answer wasn't immediate. When it finally arrived, it was worse than silence. You wouldn't understand. You were always the favorite anyway. You had everything handed to you. I had to fight for every scrap. My breath caught. Favorite? Me? If only she knew the number of times I envied her. Her confidence, her beauty, her voice, the way everyone admired her. But this wasn't the time to argue with a ghost. I typed, Zara, Officer Kabir came. He said, she cut me off. Don't talk to him. Don't listen to him. He's lying. They all are. I swallowed. Who is they? I typed. She didn't answer. Instead, another voice note came through. Her voice rushed, shaking. I need you to bring me something. A bag. It's in the attic, behind Dad's old trunk. Don't look inside it. Just bring it. Tomorrow, alone. I froze. A bag in the attic? Something she wanted me to bring without looking? Every instinct screamed something was wrong. Downstairs, I heard Dad coughing in his sleep, Mom turning restlessly on the sofa. They had no idea their missing daughter was speaking to me from the shadows. I listened to her voice note again, trying to hear the sister I once knew. But the more I listened, the more I realized something terrible. Zara wasn't asking for help. She was giving instructions, commands, like I owed her, like I was part of whatever nightmare she had created. And maybe the bag she wanted wasn't just important. Maybe it was dangerous.
The next morning, sunlight poured through the curtains, but it felt cold, as if the night hadn't truly ended. I barely slept after hearing Zara's messages. My mind was a storm, fear, anger, confusion, and a strange, aching longing for the sister I used to know. But her last request kept echoing. A bag. Behind Dad's old trunk. Don't look inside. By the time Mom and Dad left for the market, I knew what I had to do, even if every nerve in my body trembled at the thought. The attic had always been a forgotten place, dusty, dim, filled with boxes of old clothes, broken fans, and childhood memories that no longer fit in our lives. When I climbed the creaking wooden ladder, a smell of old wood and spider webs greeted me. I turned on my phone flashlight and scanned the room. Dad's old trunk sat in the corner, heavy and rusted, just like I remembered. It used to hold his tools and old awards from work. Now it was covered in dust thick enough to write on. My heartbeat thudded in my ears as I pushed the trunk aside. Behind it, hidden under a torn bedsheet, was a black duffel bag, just like Zara said. But something was wrong. The bag was heavy, too heavy,
and when I lifted it, something inside shifted with a dull metallic thud. Cold fear crawled up my spine. Zara's voice echoed in my mind. Don't look inside. But by then, I already knew I was going to. I had to. I pulled the zipper open just an inch, then another, until the bag revealed its contents. My breath stopped. Inside were stacks of money, bundles and bundles wrapped in plastic, more cash than I had ever seen in my life, and wedged beside it, documents, passports, IDs, all with Zara's photo, but none with her name. Fake identities, dozens of them. My hands shook violently. This wasn't just a debt. This wasn't some misunderstanding. Zara wasn't running from a mistake. She was running from crimes she willingly took part in. I pulled out one passport to examine it. My fingers froze, because on the next page, there was my picture, my face, but the name wasn't mine. A fake passport, prepared using my identity. My knees nearly buckled. Zara had dragged me into this deeper than I ever imagined. She hadn't just forged my name for the loan. She had planned to use my identity to escape, live freely, while I faced the consequences. I felt sick. A creak behind me made me spin around. Dad stood at the top of the attic ladder, staring at the open bag. What is that?" he whispered, voice shaking. I couldn't speak. I just pointed. Dad stepped closer, eyes widening with each passing second. When he saw the money, the passports, and my photo inside one of them, his face went white. He grabbed the edge of the trunk to steady himself. "She was going to run," he said hoarsely, "using your face, your identity. She was going to let you take the fall." Mom climbed right after, confused, until she saw the bag too. Her hand flew to her mouth, and she let out a sob somewhere between a sob and a scream. "No, no, she wouldn't! She can't!" But the evidence was right there, glaring at us from the darkness of the attic. My phone buzzed suddenly. A message. Zara. I stared at the glowing screen, my heart pounding so hard I could barely breathe. Mom's eyes filled with panic, Dad's jaw tightened, rage boiling beneath the surface. And I realized something terrifying. Zara wasn't coming to explain herself. She wasn't coming to apologize. She wanted the bag for her escape. And if I didn't bring it, what would she do next? That night, when I went to meet Zara in the abandoned parking lot she chose, I wasn't prepared for what she had become or what she was willing to do to get that bag back.
I don't know what terrified me more, the thought of meeting Zara alone at night, or the thought of what would happen if I didn't. Every hour leading up to the meeting was filled with silent tension. Mom kept glancing at me with swollen eyes. Dad paced the house like a caged animal. None of us said it out loud, but we all feared the same thing. Zara wasn't the person we used to know. By 9 p.m., the house felt suffocating. I picked up the duffel bag, not the real one, but a decoy Dad had prepared, filled with newspapers and old books. The real bag, with the money and fake IDs, was locked away, just in case. Dad insisted on coming, so did Mom, but I knew Zara would vanish the second she sensed she was being watched, so I promised them I'd message every few minutes, and after 10 minutes of arguing, they let me go, reluctantly. The abandoned parking lot was on the edge of town, near an old textile warehouse that shut down years ago. The air was cold, too cold. Streetlights flickered like dying fireflies, casting long shadows on the broken pavement. I parked Dad's old car and stepped out, gripping the bag tightly. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Zara?" I called softly. A figure emerged from behind a pillar. She was wearing a hoodie, her hair messy, her eyes darting around like she expected someone to attack her. But it was her face that stopped me. She looked hollow, like she hadn't slept in days, like fear had carved itself into her bones. Yet when she looked at me, her expression wasn't relieved. It was calculating. "You came," she said. I swallowed. "Of course I did." She didn't smile, not even a flicker of warmth. Her eyes dropped to the bag. "Is that it?" I nodded. She took a step forward, then paused. "Did anyone follow you?" "No." "Are you sure?" Her voice sharpened. "If Kabir finds me, if anyone finds me—" She cut herself off, running her hair through her hair. "Just tell me you did what I asked." "I did." I lied. Zara extended her hand. "Give it." I hesitated. Not visibly, but internally everything screamed. Something in her posture had changed. Her shoulders stiffened, her jaw tightened, and her eyes, they weren't desperate anymore. They were hungry. Hungry for escape, hungry for control, hungry enough to throw anyone, including me, under the bus. I gently slid the bag toward her. She grabbed it quickly, opened it halfway, then froze. Newspapers. Books. Not money. Her eyes lifted slowly, meeting mine, and in that moment I knew. She wasn't angry. She wasn't hurt. She was dangerous. Her voice turned razor sharp. "What is this?" "I couldn't give you the real one until you tell the truth." Zara stepped closer, her face inches from mine. "You think this is a game?" she hissed. "You think you can negotiate with me?" "I'm trying to help you." "No," she snapped. "You're trying to control me, just like them." "Zara, please." She shoved me hard. I stumbled back. "Do you have any idea what's going to happen to me if I don't get that money? Do you know what he's capable of? You think Kabir is the problem?" She laughed, a broken, eerie sound. "You don't know anything." "Then tell me. Let me help." She stared at me with a mixture of disbelief and disgust. "You help me?" She shook her head. "You're the reason everything went wrong. You and your perfect little life. If you hadn't been born—" My heart cracked. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. That was the moment I realized she blamed me. Not for the loan, not for the mistake, but for her entire life. Before she could say anything else, headlights appeared in the distance. A motorcycle, engine roaring. Zara's face drained of color. "No," she whispered. "Not him. Not now." She grabbed my arm hard. "Run!" But I didn't move. I couldn't. And in that split second of hesitation, Zara yanked the bag and bolted toward the far end of the lot. The motorcycle screeched to a stop. A man jumped off. And when he shouted her name, I realized this was the man in the photograph. And he hadn't come alone. Because when the man stepped into the light, holding something metallic in his hand, I understood. Zara wasn't the only one in danger anymore.
The man from the photograph, broad-shouldered, sharp-eyed, with a face carved from cruelty, stepped fully into the light. And in his hand, gleaming even under the flickering lamp, was a metal rod. Not a gun, not a knife, but something far more personal. something meant to break bones, not end lives. "Zara!" he barked. His voice echoed through the empty lot, bouncing off the concrete walls like a warning from hell. Zara froze mid-run. Her body stiffened, fear swallowing her whole, and for the first time in weeks, I saw a flash of the sister I once knew, the scared girl, the one who hid behind me during thunderstorms, the one who clung to Dad's shirt when she was afraid. "Please," she whispered, barely audible. "Just listen." The man marched toward her with cold fury. "You think you can steal from me? You think you can disappear after everything I did for you?" Zara stumbled back, shaking. I didn't steal. He forced me." He raised the rod, and I moved before I could think. "Stop!" I screamed, stepping between them. Both of them froze, Zara in shock, the man in confusion. He looked at me with narrowed eyes. "Who are you?" I swallowed hard, legs trembling. "I'm her sister." He let out a humorless laugh. "Ah, the clean one, the one she used." Zara's breath hitched as she looked at me, wide-eyed, as if begging me to leave, but she had dragged me into her chaos. She had used my identity. She had brought this monster into our lives. The man stepped closer, rod pointed at me now. "You have something that belongs to me," he said coldly. "The money, the bag." "I have nothing of yours." I shook my head. Lying must run in the family. Zara stepped forward suddenly. "No, leave her out of this. I'll get your money. Just let her go." "Oh, now you care? You care so much you were about to run away without giving me a rupee?" Zara's knees buckled. She looked defeated. "Please," she whispered, "I'll fix it." He raised the rod again, but before he could swing, the blare of a police siren cut through the night. Blue and red lights burst across the parking lot. A jeep screeched to a halt. Officer Kabir stepped out, followed by 2 more officers. The man cursed under his breath. He grabbed Zara's wrist, yanking her backward, but she resisted. "I won't run, not again." He glared at her like she was useless now. "Kabir!" shouted, "drop the weapon!" Everything happened in seconds. The man swung the rod, not at Zara, but at me. Zara lunged. She shoved me aside with surprising strength. The rod crashed into her shoulder. She screamed, collapsed to the ground. Officers rushed in. Kabir tackled the man, disarmed him, and pinned him to the pavement. The bag of newspapers tumbled from Zara's hand. Her breath came in short, painful gasps. I crawled to her, tears blurring my vision. "Why?" I whispered. "Why protect me after everything?" She looked at me with eyes full of pain, physical and emotional. And for the first time in months, I saw my sister again, the real one, not the liar, not the criminal, not the stranger, just Zara. Her voice trembled, "Because even when I hated you, you never hated me. You didn't deserve any of this." Tears spilled down my cheeks. Sirens wailed louder. Officers lifted the man, dragging him to the jeep. Kabir approached us, kneeling beside Zara. "It's over," he said softly. "But Zara, you'll need to come with us, too." Zara nodded weakly. She didn't fight. She didn't lie. She didn't run. As they helped her stand, she grabbed my hand. "I'm sorry," she whispered, for everything, for what I became. And all I could do was hold her hand tightly, even as she was led away, because forgiveness is easier than forgetting, but forgetting who she used to be, that was impossible. I watched the police jeep drive off into the night. The man who controlled her was gone. The crimes she committed were exposed. Our lives would never be the same. But somewhere between the lies and the truth, in that single moment of clarity, I saw my sister, the last time she was a stranger. Some say betrayal ends relationships, but sometimes it reveals the pieces that were worth saving all along.